Well, this is the dangerous part about giving positive feedback. It just forces me to record another video. And yes, I'm wearing a different Orcs Nest t-shirt. I've been to the Orcs Nest maybe 3 times in the past 4 years. And I actually posted it recently on one of the Oldhammer forums or Facebook groups, that you can actually find old miniatures at the Orcs Nest painted in the window. So people didn't know that. But out of my 3 times, maybe twice. Anyway, I purchased stuff at the Orcs Nest. The topic that I wanted to discuss today relates to an experience I had bringing stuff out of the attic. Now, in this very channel, there is footage of what my podcasting room looked like. I'm currently in my wife's quilting room, which is our kind of COVID co-location area. It's slightly more picturesque, although really I should be recording in the podcasting room because there's a bunch of old wargaming related stuff behind me when I do the recordings. Anyway, so the attic came down. Long-time participant and a friend, Connor Seitz Bowen, came over. I gave him a chunk of change and he helped me hurl down stuff from the attic. And I filled my podcasting room with a bunch of old stuff, including a number of duplicates with regards to White Dwarfs, a number of duplicates with regards to Dragon Warriors, a number of duplicates with regards to D&D books, a vast number of duplicates with regards to Games Workshop codices and army books, and just basically, I lived in the UK for a period of time. I lived in Las Vegas for a period of time. I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for a period of time, and then we got this house. And then from this house, getting this house, a good portion of the stuff went in the attic, and really I'd never done a full end-to-end cleanup associated with all the stuff. So what the attic taught me was that I'm actually interested in very specific things. I've got lots of, just kind of compulsive hoarding buying issues, which thankfully a lot of this is squashed, all this COVID time. But actually, there are certain periods of time in Games Workshop history that I like, from the early hundreds to about 120 in the White Dwarf. I'll go back into the 80s in the White Dwarf and some of the earlier ones too. But really, my interest is when they started doing miniatures, seriously Citadel miniatures, up until about 120. I can't remember. There was an editorial shift, and that's the point where I just drop off. And then I started reading White Dwarf again, issue 274, I think, in the UK issues. And really, it's about a year and a half following that, and then everything becomes too plasticky and this kind of stuff. So I've realized through this experience, and the same is true with regards to D&D, the same is true with regards to Dragon Warriors, the same is true with regards to a lot of stuff, that I buy books in very specific areas and then buy kind of smatterings. But really, if you look just at duplicates in terms of what I like, then I know very definitively and cleanly now what I like. And this is after years of kind of memory loss, migraines, working a very particular kind of job, all these things kind of concatenated to the fact that, I bought, I don't know, 4 copies of Slaves of Darkness, Slaves of Darkness over the past 20 years. So do with what you will, do something with it that you will. But it made me realize there are certain things that I really like and other stuff I can do without. And I've got so many, I've got right next to me so much of this crap, really, that I don't really need or like or have any interest in. It's just a bunch of plastic and what they call fine cast and other stuff. And, it's beautiful, it's aesthetic, but it's just not what really interests me. And I've got maybe 3 copies of this thing. It's just ridiculous. So within the stuff that I have, I've realized very clearly that there's just stuff which is stuff to buy stuff, which is something that I'm just stopping. And then the stuff which I genuinely actually like. And that has created a really strong change in my mindset. Now, I've got a bunch of these figure cases and stuff, and the miniatures are getting organized through this thing as well. But practically, it means no more rules buying going forwards. The most amazing rules could come out, but I doubt they're going to actually be worth purchasing. And that is something I've kind of historically talked about periodically through these recordings, and more so in my podcast, My Rules Are Better. But I've just realized that the rules thing is just ridiculous. Like, there could be some really interesting dynamic rules in the future, but really a lot of it is just resuscitation. So, obviously, in the kind of wargaming fraternity, be it this stuff or historical or what have you, they do like revisionists of the rules, right? So, like, what, version 9 in this case, of this stuff. So I just realized that's not me. That's not for me. It's not an interest of mine. And the kind of compulsorily hoarding of books and other things is just killing me. I've come to a realization with regards to miniatures as well, and this is more intimate, that really I've got every miniature I'd ever want. Like literally, I think there's a very small smattering of Citadel miniatures of the period that I like. I mean, I have two very distinct periods of collecting, right? I have the late 80s up till about 1991, and then I have some early 2000s up to about 2004, 2005, that's it. Everything else around that, they're just not ranges that I like. The gulf in the Games Workshop period through that, the kind of Hero Hammer, bulky Hammer, the loss of all the Kev Adams stuff, I just have no interest in that. There's some curious, Valhalla Imperial Guard, they're okay, kind of chunky Perry. But aside from that, Steel Legion is where I pick up. Because the Imperial Guard, a lot of Steel Legion. That's done. I've got an actual defined Steel Legion army, a bunch of early Fred Reed painted Steel Legion, a bunch of Steel Legion that I've passed to half a dozen other painters and that stuff. So, I've got a little bit of unpainted Valhalla that I'm going to get to a guy on the East Coast, and that's it. I've got enough Imperial Card. I'm not really interested in anything plastic, so the tanks and this kind of stuff. I've got some early Forge World stuff, which is interesting, but yeah, I'm done with that. Historical miniatures, I'm pretty well done with. I've got almost every possible faction in the Second World War to a squad level. I don't need any other miniatures. 28mm. Now I've got a bunch of 15mm. I've got a few 20mm, which I'll again down individual squad level, and I'm done. So my view is I don't actually need any, there's some amazing sculpts coming out, don't get me wrong. I don't really need them, right? This thing is, the hoarding aspect of this thing is something that when the attic come down, you see the video, you can see physically the space that the attic brought into my podcasting room. It wasn't a huge additional thing. It was an amount of stuff. But through that, 5 legal boxes went to a guy, American White Dwarfs I have no interest in. Bunch of stuff that I just have no interest in that was just donated to charity. A bunch of stuff left over, which, if you're in the US and you want some of the stuff, where are they? The priority mailboxes, which I've got a bunch of just lying around. They're really useful in this circumstance. So if you're listening into this and look, the 4 copies I have of the various original Realms of Chaos books, I'm not going to be giving those away, unfortunately. This stuff I'm more likely to just because it's bulky. But yeah, that early stuff. If it's in a period of my interest, and I felt this way, so I had a bunch of Citadel journals, for example, which I really like, and I weaseled them down to maybe 2 copies of each issue, and then sent the other issues out to people I know. And the early White Dwarfs that I have some duplicates, 3 or 4 in some cases. So yeah, maybe I could pull 1 or 2 out of them, but I'm okay actually. I'm really very comfortable with duplicates, which is a strange thing through this period. Because the duplicates actually give me a really strong signal that this is something that I like. But everything outside that, enough. So I'm changing a lot of my philosophy through this, and you can hold me accountable to this in this channel, I hope. Because what I want to utilize this channel for more is getting a greater degree of parity with regards to my rules of better, and literally having, squad-based Second World War, squad-based First World War. And, let's work out some rules out of this thing. Let's do something that's independent of the book creators. And, let's start using our minds for something different. So, I wanted to record this a little bit hot here. So, I hope I'm coming through somewhat coherently. And look, the likes were really, really positive on the last video. So, thanks to everyone who gave it the thumbs up, because that basically And I've got half a dozen other topics that I'd like to cover, but I wanted to put this one out because, it's learning from the attic, and you can go back and watch the attic video, get a sense of what it was in terms of space. Anyway, Monty, also occasionally known as Tom Butterley, from the San Francisco Bay Area, signing out.